standing by with regard to the first or the initial feeler of what that address meant. Ankur.
So Reserve Bank of India has now decided to go for a 25 basis point cut rather than waiting, and he has expressed that it is a Goldilocks scenario whereby the growth is there and even the inflation is under control, and therefore the growth guidance has been revised 0.5% upwards to more than 7.3% this time, and more importantly even the next year guidance quite favorable. 6.7% is coming in for Q1 and 6.8% for Q2. So it's not that the base effect is hurting much, and more importantly, the inflation is within control, whereby the guidance for this fiscal year has been revised to 2% from 2.6% earlier, and he has been maintaining that it is definitely under control, and therefore Reserve Bank of India going for a rate cut. Let's go across to our guests. I think Dinesh Khara is standing by. I want to take your reaction first. Mr. Khara, I want to know that with this rate cut, the transmission which has been detailed by the governor has been 63 basis points. Do you think that this is enough, or you think that there is more to be done?
No, I think we have seen that in the past also, where with the rate cuts happening, the transmission has started happening. When it comes to the new loans, it's very much visible. But when it comes to the portfolio as a whole also, it is eventually getting reflected, because when it comes to the MCLR, etc., for each bank, it undergoes a change. So I would expect that, it may be a little gradual, but certainly transmission will be there, and it will go a long way in terms of supporting the growth in the economy.
Your first thoughts talk to us about the stance announcement that has come by the governor. You know, the GDP outlook has been raised, inflation outlook has been cut. Why, in your opinion, has the stance been maintained at neutral? I mean, wouldn't an accommodative stance be more favorable here?
No, I think when it comes to stance, they have to eventually evaluate the long-term trend lines. So I think it was too early for them to really take an assessment of the long-term trend line. And that is the reason perhaps the stance has been maintained where it was.
So when does it change? Hi, this is Harsha. When does that stance change in your opinion?
My sense is that maybe another quarter or two.
Okay. And you've already got favorable tailwind both on inflation as well as growth. They further cut their inflation guidance or expectation. They've upped the growth expectation. Nothing was said from a GST perspective. Do you believe that there could be a further upside surprise, especially on the growth count? Because the growth number was extremely strong, sir.
No, I do agree with you. And when it comes to growth, when we look at the YOY basis, maybe the next quarter we might get to see some kind of moderation also in the growth. So that's the other thing. And apart from that, the global headwinds also, how will it really pan out for the economy? We have to wait and watch. And that will perhaps give us a very clear indication. That's why I'm saying that maybe another 2 quarters or so, where there would be a better assessment in terms of the likely trend line, and which will influence the decision relating to the stance.
Mr. Khara, I want to know your assessment on the liquidity front as well. Although Governor did mention the surplus liquidity is there in the system, and he mentioned few of the announcements, including 3-year dollar rupee swap. Do you think more commentary was needed for liquidity front, or you think it is sufficient the kind of credit growth which banking system is needing?
I think when it comes to liquidity, of course, the CRR cut has already got kicked in. So that itself has also released the liquidity for the system. And what I would say is that Governor has very clearly mentioned that short-term liquidity, how will they manage? And also when it comes to the long-term liquidity, how will they manage? So I think this is very clearly articulated, so that gives a very clear indication to all the stakeholders in the system, and they can expect the appropriate action. So in fact, Governor has mentioned that they will ensure that there will be adequate liquidity in the system at all the times to go. So I think it's a very, very assuring kind of a statement. And I would say that perhaps liquidity will not be a constraint when it comes to the credit needs of the economy are concerned.
Talk to us about what happens to the banking sector and what happens to margins in particular, sir. You have a very good pulse of that. So give us a sense. Margins have obviously likely had bottomed in Q2. Do you believe that now, with deposit repricing likely to happen, would you be therefore reasonably comfortable that across banks margins would have likely bottomed already, even despite the 25 bips rate cut?
I think of late, the kind of results which I have seen from various banks, I
Yes.
would say that practically banks have become very, very cautious in terms of maintaining their margins. So, but having said that, I'm also cognizant of the fact that the credit deposit ratio has also inched up towards 80% already. So I think what I sense is that maybe for a quarter or so, there could be some kind of a recalibration in the margins. But eventually, there will be very clear focus for the banks to maintain the margins. And for generating those margins, maybe, when it comes to deposit rate, etc., how the transmission happens, we'll have to probably wait and watch. Because why I'm saying this is that if at all credit deposit ratio is 80%, then we have already seen some kind of a shift in the composition of the deposit. There's actually people have started locking in for the long-term fixed deposits because they were expecting a reduction in the interest rates. So this will certainly have an impact, but maybe banks will have to look at it that how can they take care of their margins by perhaps curtailing the cost of operations, etc., etc. But at the same time, when it comes to the CRR and the SLR requirements, that also has actually given some kind of a kick-up because the preemptions have been reduced.
Okay, Mr. Khara, appreciate your time and thank you for joining us with your thoughts today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, viewers, let's